in it.
Some people thought that this was going to be a very short kind of war, that they'd go down and take care of it and it would be all over, didn't they?
Yes, including Lincoln himself. He'd only asked for 75,000 volunteers for the first 3 months. And so the 14th had to re-enlist their men because of that was only a short period of time.
Any idea how many people from Fulton County itself participated in the Civil War?
I think there's about 1,500 here on display. And this includes people who moved here after the war, because that's how the GAR, which we now think of as American Legion, how they kept track of it, by where you retired as a veteran.
Okay.
Not so much where you joined.
All right.
So,
one of the pieces that you like to mention here is this portrait of Lincoln. It's pretty striking. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yes, this was actually a lithograph made during Lincoln's lifetime, between the time he was elected and his inauguration. And his body is actually a earlier print from 4 years before John Fremont. And that,
so it's not really Lincoln's
body. And then the face had to be changed because he grew the beard between his election and the inauguration. So this print had to have been changed twice.
And so this is like the official portrait that just kept being updated for taking over.
Right.
Obviously, slavery was a big issue. I see you have a copy of Uncle Tom's Cabin, and that instigated a lot of people to get involved because they didn't believe in slavery and they were for the abolition of slavery.
Right. Now we think of it as a racist portrayal of African Americans, and it's not promoted that much as a quality literature. But Mrs. Stowe, she is related to some of the Stowes that live here in this area, and she got
so
her
there was
point across.
There's a connection here to Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Mm-hmm. Her shirt-tail relatives owned a hotel in Otaki and formed a circus. The Stowe Family Circus.
Okay.
Started in 1859, right before the war. And they traveled all over the circuit in Ohio, Cleveland, and down to Columbus.
They had a special kind of act, did they?
Yeah, they had juggling and man shot from a cannon and equestrian acts. You know, they were copying Barnum and Bailey. That was the big deal at that time.
Okay. All right. And were they all family members who were a part of it?
And they didn't get along very well. Some quit and some rejoined.
Okay. All right. One of the other outstanding pieces here is, and we're talking about slavery and abolition, is the copy of the Emancipation Proclamation. Tell me about this piece.
This has actually been printed the year after the Emancipation Proclamation in '63. So this is not a reprint. This was made before Lincoln was assassinated, and it was popular at the time to display a copy in your home if you were against slavery.
Okay. So you're looking at 1861 in this particular room, this first year. Were there people from Fulton County who were part of some significant actions during that first year?
Yes, this grouping of artifacts over here is to try to talk about the home front supplies that were being brought together for the soldiers. The women
You mean the government didn't supply everything the soldiers needed?
No. And each township had its own division. The women would get together once a week at the township hall, collect items to ship. Now, in the beginning, in 1861, they didn't know what they were doing. It was very haphazard. So I'm showing Crocs in here because that would not be something you would do, but that's what they were doing in the beginning. Things would get broken. Women would ship honey and molasses, and the bottles would break and ruin everything that's being shipped. We had the YMCA is what we call it now, but at that time it was called the Christian Commission, formed in 1861, 150 years ago. It's their anniversary. And they created all these little songbooks, hymnals, and Bibles that were shipped with these things to the soldiers.
All right. So what kind of supplies did the soldiers need that they weren't getting when they first started?
Well, they weren't getting anything food-wise other than coffee beans, salt pork, and hardtack, which is a terrible biscuit that a lot of times when they opened the Cracker Barrels, they were all full of maggots.
Not particularly appetizing.
And these boys had never cooked. Their moms had either cooked for them or their wives.
Okay.
So this was an adventure. They had no mess hall. That was developed later in the next war. And so everybody's making their own food. And then their supplies, if they had money that they earned, there were traveling sutlers that would go from camp to camp selling items, or they would have to be sent from home. So.
And did it take a while to get to them when they were shipped from home to wherever they were?
Especially this first year. It did take a long time. Some things never made it. Captain Hayes from the 44th, he came home, and it'll be this September, and helped take the packages directly to the soldiers. They were some already in Libby prison at that time, and he wanted to make sure that everything got there.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue our discussion here and learn more about the people who were involved in the Civil War in Northwest Ohio right after this.